Mom told you to use pillow?
My head told me.
How's it going?
Who?
Good.
My head.
Your head.
All right, I
Yeah,
think we're ready
every
to
day.
begin.
You use the pillow.
Huh?
You get it. Never mind.
Head to use the pillow? I got it.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
mean,
make
It wasn't
it
funny.
take bigger.
He's like, I'm not laughing because I didn't think it was funny.
I'm laughing now. It's a delayed laugh.
We got there.
You can laugh at me too, you know. You don't have to laugh with me.
Alright, guys, so today this is like what we're gonna talk about. Vincent gonna show some of his tools he's been playing with for a terminal. He's also on the command line adventure, personal adventure, discovering all that stuff, and he talked to me about it today. I thought it's cool. And after that, I'm gonna give introduction into Python. So I'll try to keep it practical. I'll try to make a mini program to do kind of what we've been doing on terminal, but through Python, search nodes, yeah, and do something with them. Maybe send API requests to LLM, see how can we connect multiple pieces together with a small Python script.
Are you streaming?
Yes,
Cool.
and recording.
Cool.
So last week we were talking about the shell, and I was asking questions about the difference between Z shell and Bash because I'd seen all of my Mac friends in Linux, and their whole setup seemed better than mine with WSL and Windows. So Z shell versus shell was the thing, and when I've been Claude coding, oftentimes I'll ask how to do something, and it'll tell me I need to change my bash RC file, which is kind of your preferences, your config for your shell. Is that
Pause. Did you know what that means? The RC file?
No.
They just explained it, but maybe like make sure that you understand.
Yeah, okay, so let me turn this on really quick, but I'll show you in 1 second what we're talking about. So your shell, as Kif talked about last week, you know, is you've got your terminal and you've got your shell and you've got your what are the other layers, Kif?
Terminal. So yes, the shell is just a general term. I think the shell refers to interpreter, and the terminal refers to that graphical window around it. So an interpreter in this case is he's talking about either Bash or ZSH. Those are different interpreter that takes your command as a text and then it will do something with it. They evaluate it or like a little piece of code.
So Z shell's an interpreter, is that correct?
Yes, I feel like interpreter is a better word.
So I asked Chad about the difference between them and what other popular shells are out there, and was just curious. But had read and maybe heard from Kif that I think in like OS 10, 12 or something like that, they switched over to Z shell as the default shell
On Mac, yeah.
on Mac. And
They invented it for Mac, or it existed before.
it existed before. It's basically just Bash, but with a lot of customizable features and themes and like a plugin community. And so I was curious about that. I like plugins. I like customizing things.
Just pause. The RC file, RC something. It's a file that's like usually hidden, I think. But it's where you can put customizable things in, like startup commands that you use all the time. You don't have to type all the time. It's kind of like adding things to your path or whatever that's called. What do they call it? Shortcuts.
Environment variables.
Environment.
Yeah. So at the very
So
root.
if you go to a new computer, that's like the file that you want to like back up.
Configuration is a good word. It's just your configuration for the application you're using.
So if
In
I
this
go
case,
to my home folder in Linux, why is it giving me Ming W64? That's interesting. But if I'm in my home folder here and I do ls to see what's inside of it, it's giving me home folder in Windows and not in Linux. And that's because I haven't configured that properly in
You're not on the WSL.
I'm not in
seems like,
WSL.
right?
That's no.
Now do CD.
Hold on. So we'll start here from PowerShell, and we'll call WSL, and now you're in WSL, and I'm going to do CD to home and LS. And there's nothing actually in my home because I installed this clean version of WSL on last week when we were here, and I couldn't get Node working properly, if you remember. So there's nothing in here, but if I do ls a and h, listing all of the things and all the hidden things, you'll see that there's actually a bunch of hidden files in the root of my brand new clean user folder. And hidden files and folders always begin with a dot at the beginning. And so we're using the bash shell, and you'll see that there is a bash RC file in here that is a hidden file at the root of your user directory. If you have multiple users on the computer, then each user would have their own bash RC. And there's probably one at root too, right, Kev?
No, it's
No?
only a home.
It's only
for
in
your
home?
profile, yeah.
Okay. So if I wanted to look at that, I could say nano bash RC, and now I'm in an editor where I can come in here and take a look at the config
And
here.
actually, I want to point out that a bash RC file is not the one that's recommended to store user settings. It's recommended to use what's called .bash profile, which is another convention. But
They still get
they're
loaded.
very similar. The only difference between those two files when they get pulled. One of them is pulled for logged in shell, and another I think is executed when they're not logged in shell. The technicality of that is like really like not important. It's like basically related to your system login or log out. But you know, I just want to point it out. It's fine for this example to modify this file as well.
And I'm pretty sure I had a pretty blank bash RC file at the beginning, and I had Chad configure it based on a few things that I told it I wanted, including, which is like a super dangerous thing to do if you have your own thing, to just let an agent fuck up all your things. But I had nothing set yet in a clean one, and I've gone through this process a few times on all of my other computers. So I knew a few of the things that I wanted, including this right here, aliases. So I have this alias of LL equals LS dash, it's basically everything, right? All files. And so that's just a little bit of a shortcut. And I have a couple of shortcuts for things that I do all the fucking time. So for instance, if I do alias VA equals source vonv bin activate, that's a thing that I'm doing all the time, is having to type that out. And I've typed that whole thing out hundreds and hundreds of times in order to use Comfy and start up the virtual environment before I launch it. And I'm like, why don't I have that? And then I, of course, just looked it up and like, oh yeah, alias is a thing. Nobody told me about aliases, and I'm like, that makes total sense. So I might also take this whole same thing here and do VD equals deactivate.
Some people do it for like their name.
So yeah, exactly.
You're typing a lot.
Anything that you're typing a lot, you can do this way. So that's neat. But I'm like, okay, Z shell, what's the difference between Z shell and just a couple of, it's almost identical, except it's got better colors, and there's a whole user community around themes, and there's plugins for it. So I'm like, okay, I wanna try that out. And so here in this chat from scratch, I'm just asking, how do I install Z shell? And then first it's going to tell me check to see if it exists. If it doesn't, then you can just do sudo apt install Z shell if you're on an Ubuntu build, which is what I'm doing here through WSL, and then change the permissions so that it's going to want to start in here. And this is, I think, where I got to. And actually, let me exit out of here. So in Nano, I have to do Control O in order to write out what I changed. and then Control X is going to exit out of Nano. And then I'm going to run, I'm going to tell it that I want to change shell, and this is going to be a sudo thing, so I need my password. And then oh my Zosh is kind of the reason that a lot of people like to use this. And I already, I think, downloaded it, but let's double check. Okay, I ran the installer. 3 options: to unset it, install it to a new one, or okay, I don't need to do that. So we already have Z shell, and I'm already in Z shell. So we see right away that things are looking a little bit different than when they did with Bash. And one of the neat things I can do is, let's say I have a folder. We'll just make a directory called test. Now, usually you would have to do cd test, and now you're in that folder. But with Z shell, you can just do test, and it's gonna. Maybe that didn't work. Okay, I haven't configured any of this stuff yet. So let's install Oh My Zosh and look at the settings for that.
It's a directory. There's stuff, more stuff inside.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, let's actually just look at the Zosh RC. I don't think I actually need to do anything with this. Yeah, so it already has pre-configured a variable for Oh My Zosh and a handful of themes that you can choose from here. But just a lot of little nice ease of life kind of things. And let's just look through a few of these. So you can turn a lot of things off. Enable correction. So this actually has correction, meaning if I go to type a command with like a single letter typo, it's going to ask me, did you mean to do this other thing, instead of erroring on me, and then I can just hit, oh yeah, I did.
Anywhere in the string, like not just at the end.
Yeah, so it does like some fuzzy finding. But there's a bunch of other things too that I'm like, wow, why am I just finding out about this? So I'm going to...
And you understand everything here is commented out. So if you wanted one, you would uncomment it.
So the plugins are really nice. And again, because this is a clean install of Linux, I'm going to show you how to set some of this up, but then I'm going to remote into my other computer because a lot of the functions aren't very visible or useful unless you can see them on a machine that has some files on it. But one of the things I did was I asked, what are the most popular Oh My Zosh plugins?
This is Cursor.
This is Cursor, yeah. So this syntax highlighting is awesome, and so I'm going to add this one in here. Docker, I'm not going to put these in because I don't need them right now. And I'm also going to remote into my other machine and look at the ones that I actually chose in the setup I've been playing with this week. That's not the right window. This is the right window. Oh, you know, I have an inception problem. 1 second.
Too many computers open. at the
Too
same time.
many
Too many
computers.
You
screens.
spin the top.
Here we go. So I keep grabbing the cursor from the wrong computer. Let's see if this does what I
And
want.
they all look the same.
And they all look the same. So I'm going to So one of the things is this autocomplete, right? So this is one of the features. It just auto-completes almost anything.
Are
Which,
you able to zoom a little?
yeah, let me see if I can do that on the remote computer too. And I think
For being the-
this is what?
Just do your terminal full screen. There's too much shit on the screen. It's really intimidating.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's like an action movie.
Okay, so this is my Zosh RC script. And we'll make this a little bit bigger here. Is that good? Can you see that well?
Yeah.
So I've turned on a number of things here. Most of them I've just left at their defaults. I like the corrections so far. And fasd. And fasd is super cool. This is maybe my favorite thing that I've found so far. And if I do fasd help,
And you see how it suggested the option for him? I think it's at the complete talking about, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So this autocomplete is super nice. Like it'll learn autocomplete on things that you don't have a shell autocomplete file for. Like a lot of command line tools I've seen will allow you to install a separate autocomplete file that your shell can read. But this one learns, and that's what I really like. It actually keeps kind of a history of the files you access through the terminal, the folders that you go to regularly, and allows you to get back to them fast. And so if we look here, fasd, it's F, A, S, D, and Z are the only 5 commands of this tool. And F is for matching files. D is for matching directories. A is all for files and directories. S is a search. And Z is a CD to a directory that you've been to recently, and it learns. So if I just type Z and nothing else and hit enter, you see how when I type Z right away it auto-completes with Comfy4, the folder I've been working in lately. It already is going to try to suggest me, but if I hit enter on Z, what it's going to do is it's going to give me a score for all of the folders that I've been using since I installed fasd, and the likelihood of me wanting to go to one of those folders. And so if I just start with Z, it's going to try to autocomplete to this one with the highest score here.
Is Z a command?
Z is a command. So
But that's not a fasd thing, right? You said it was.
no, it's part of fasd and Z are the
And Z. Okay,
yeah.
Z and fasd.
yeah. So it's
Just an alias,
the
right?
package is called fasd.
Yeah.
Z is a command in fasd, one of the 5
One,
commands.
Okay, there were 5 now.
Yeah. So, and there's a faster version of Z just called Z. It's a plugin for Oh My Zosh, only called Z, and it only does this thing of how fasd does Z, and it's written in Rust, so it's super, super fast. So if you only care about that feature of it and you want it to be fast and you have a really huge file base, then that might be the one for you. I chose fasd because I don't have a really huge file base and because I wanted some of these other features. If I do just F and hit enter, you'll see the files that I've been accessing from my command line directly, including like my Z shell file, and it just remembers your commands. So if I type S over here, it's most likely autofill to here source home/dreambait/comfy/von/bin/activate. That means I don't need to go there. I can just bump over to the right and now activate virtual environment. And I can do V in order to deactivate my environment because I've set up that little hotkey for turning off my environment.
Is it, how do you get between them? You tab between them?
So instead of tab will do your traditional autocomplete. So if I tab here, it's actually going to try to complete on S, and I don't want to do any of this, so I'm going to get out of there. If I start to type Z, or what was the one I was typing? Source here. If I type to the right, that's what pops me
Right
over.
arrow?
The right arrow, yeah.
So, but then this list of the ranked ones,
Yeah, so that is
how
just,
do you select one of them?
so this is just S, and if we look again at fasd help, and again it's auto-completing because this is a recent command that I've called, then it shows you the options here. So S is for searching as well, and so you can do like S foo and S bar. And actually what we'll do is, that might actually be something I read in the repository.
Alcohol spectrum disorders. Nope.
Easy to remember.
That's called drinking while you're pregnant.
Yeah, so with SI you can select and search. I might actually be confusing the S with a different command I was looking at because you should be able to do like foo and bar with these as well. So like if I do F or we'll do D for instance and look at all. So if I do D and then start to type Eve, then it's gonna return that thing. So it's gonna filter for that for me. And then I could also do Z. Well, maybe I haven't been to that one yet.
So, but do all these?
Okay, yeah. So I did Z Eve, and it took me to home slash, and I could even probably do Z E, and that's going to also take me to Eve because it knows that I want the thing. It's just going to pick the most likely fuzzy result based on the letters that I've started to put in.
Yeah, this is like a Zen of computer. You want your task to boil down to 2 letters typing any task.
Yeah, and so
as maximum.
That's pretty neat, and it just learns the places that I've gone to over time and the frequency that I'm there, and maybe there's some sort of weight against how recently I visited. So that's super cool, and maybe my favorite new command line trick. I was showing this to Flo yesterday, and he was super impressed and installed it. So I wanted to share that with you guys, and then one other thing I wanted to share. Alejandro's here.
Waiting for me.
I just, whoops, I spelled it wrong. But Zonch is this other thing. Kif's going to talk about Python. I started looking at this and playing with it a little bit. It's just Bash shell, but also Python. And I asked Kif what he thought of it, and he probably correctly said, seems neat, but there's probably a lot of gotchas. And
Gotcha number 1 is Python.
We're not bashing on Python today. This is a Python
Yeah.
session. Python is fantastic.
But what if you,
But
it's
there's a
Bash and
dependency.
Python
A
together?
bash on
Can you
Python.
bash?
Yeah, we're bash. This is Bash and Python. We're literally Zonch is Bash and Python.
No,
But-
serious question, like, is it Bash in Python? As in, do they implement Bash, or it's like a shell, like its own thing, not compatible?
It says it is the shell. It has all the shell primitives of Bash.
Implemented in Python.
So for implementation.
I think it's
Language is a
implementation.
superset of Python 3.6. So it's basically, you can do all your Bash stuff, but you can also do all of your Python stuff directly in the shell. And because I know Python already, I could imagine scenarios where that would be really helpful because I could just quickly do a thing that I'm familiar with without having to learn a bunch of new syntax. Would that stunt me from actually learning the syntax? Is it faster than just asking, Chad to be like, hey, how do I do the thing? And then it'll tell me something. But I think these are all different tools that having a combination of them in your kit of ask the LLM, have the shortcuts, have the hotkeys, have the tools that you're used to. What I thought was really neat was that you could just do variables in Python the way you're used to and quickly set those up. And then work with them for bashing out a quick script right in the shell. Seems kind of neat. So that was the other thing I wanted to share.
What's the little window that popped up when you ran Eve?
Oh, so Control K is the hotkey in Cursor in order to pop up the command line Claude. And so this is where you can say, hey, give me the command to concat two videos and upscale them to 1080p for FFmpeg. And then, Claude will do the thing and yeet it straight into my command line. And it either works or it doesn't. But this is for like short questions is down here. And then in Cursor, you have a sidebar for your Claude chat where you can either be in ask mode or you can be in agent mode, which is also YOLO mode. And agent mode, you can give a set of rules. You actually, I've been playing with rules a lot more lately. You can create a cursor ignore file and a cursor rules file in the root of whatever folder you're in, and then give it context. So your cursor ignore and your cursor rules files in there tell the LLM that you're working with what they can and cannot do, what they should and shouldn't look at, what the point of this thing is. And it's really helpful when you're doing multiple chats or really long interactions to set up some constraints around your LLM, because what Cursor is going to do is it's going to index in the background your entire workspace and then try to rag that workspace when you ask it questions and pull into context the relevant things. But you can also drag individual files into Cursor. So if I just grab, I want to ask questions about the CLI arguments, then I need to open up that sidebar first. I can drag this here where it says add context. I can grab lines from my error log in the CLI. I could grab lines from any file that I'm working with in my code editors and yeet them into context. I could grab the documentation or just a README file from a website and yeet that into context.
You can do a link. I didn't know that. It's cool.
Yeah, you can do a link. It can read the web page. And so you can even drop an entire folder into its context. So usually when you're asking it questions, if you want to get really good information, I might be like, hey, this is the script that I'm working on, and it's calling this other utility in the utilities folder, and that's actually managing this other folder over here. Pay specific attention to this file in that folder. That's going to be the gateway. And so you give it instruction and a context as to what you want to do with your questions, and you can always have as many different threads as you want. So you have a history. You can create a new thread and say, I'm just going to talk to you about this. You can also do @ and so if I @ then I can reference previous chat history. So like, hey, remember on Tuesday when we were talking about transferring my bash configurations over to Z shell? I have a new question about that. Is there a script that I could write to just copy that, or what's the command line that I could do argument to take everything in my bash RC file that is an export and bring it over to my Z shell config file. So little things like that where like I have an idea of what I would want to do for it, but I might not know the tool. and then I learn about the thing, or I'll have it give me a few options. If it's in YOLO mode, which you can switch between with Control K and Control L. So Control L is I'm asking a question. Control I is it maybe? Oh, I deactivated Control I because I was trying to set up a plugin that allows you to talk into it, and it had a hotkey for that. So I no longer have the hotkey set up for this anymore.
Jumping back to the referencing, like what you talked about last Tuesday. So I felt like every time I'm working on something new, I open up a new chat because I thought that gave me like more or less a fresh start.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also awesome if I can actually reference conversations that I've had with it before.
Totally.
So is it also kind of storing all that and then doing RAG on its own conversations?
The way cursor works is the root of your cursor workspace folder, usually the first folder, I have one, is where it is usually thinking and executing from. If you can all avoid it, and I break this all the time, like I just have one cursor environment with like 6 different unrelated projects in it, and that's not helping me. It's adding too much noise. So if you can limit it to just the project that you're working on at hand, which is, not how I liked to work in VS Code. In VS Code, I just have all the different folders I'm accessing the most in one workspace. But here, memories and previous chat history is stored with the workspace. And also, I've found sometimes I'll be working in, this folder, but it wants to make a new script in this folder because it still has this as its like primary thing. And you can actually even reorder this, and when you do, it'll ask you, are you order of root folder in your workspace? And it's because they care about that. It's the most important folder in the agent's mind. And keep in mind that it is just indexing in the background everything in your code base. And so you might also want to do things like put a .env file in rule. This is off. Get this file, and then I'll make a .env.example file that has the dummy information in it that doesn't have sensitive API keys or whatever. And I've had Cursor tell me a couple of times, like, hey, by the way, you should burn this API key because you just sent me your 11 Labs, API. And it'll tell me that. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. I should do that. Yeah, that's I think enough for me. Adventures in YOLO coding.
Well, I have one question. So it seems like you're doing all your shell work in Cursor now. I'm doing
most of it.
With any other.
I do sometimes, like for instance, one of the things that I'm doing a lot of is if I go to like CAI/data. Oh no, I'm in the wrong computer again. So in a command prompt, I might have a comfy installation that I just want to run by itself. And so the comfy CLI, I can just run comfy launch. And I might not actually want this process running inside of my cursor process where I'm sure there's a bunch of overhead and other things going on. I just want that to run on its own in a background process. So I'll do some of that sort of thing in there.
That's just launching things. You're not really doing too much heavy computing.
Yeah, I'm not actively working inside of it.
Yeah.
If I'm actually coding anything, then I'm 100% in Cursor all the time. And I kind of love it. All right, I think that's enough for me.
Yeah. Give HDMI.